everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, we're going to take a look at Rusty's collection, and I put it on two tiers and called it the collection that James Bond should have had. And if you look at the watches here, you can see that they're all similar except for the one in the bottom middle, the white with one with a white dial. But the other ones all look like the kind of James Bondy ones that you see in the different Bond films. Okay, so let's take a look at them. The first two that are unranked they're by a company called Steinhardt. And Steinhardt is something that I didn't give a lot of credence to until I started looking at them, and they're very attractive watches. That's one thing. They look like they're using quality pieces instead of throwing something together. I mean, they're not great quality. They came out with their own caliber called the ST1. And it was a heavily modified ETA Unitas 6497-1. Maybe they're taking a path to their own in-house movement now that ETA has been pulling back. I don't know how long that's going to last. Anyway, so like if James Bond was fighting a bad guy and he held up his Steinhardt, not much of a loss, I suppose. On the other hand, if he's not going to pull up his Rolex and say, "Excuse me while I take off my Rolex." Okay, so that's how come these are the ones James Bond should have had. All right, now the next one is Christopher Ward, and Christopher Ward is another one that I thought, this is like they're not doing anything very interesting, but I was wrong. Christopher Ward is doing some very interesting things. In 2009, they started making their own movement. They put one of their guys to work who's a master watchmaker who works for them named Johann Janke. And in 2014, they came out with their first in-house movement. So, this is, and they're very, very reasonably priced too. But the big thing that they had was that they had like a reserve, a 5-day reserve, so you can wind it up and leave it for 5 days and it'll stay wound. They have the price. They have them at they have an automatic called a C9 5-day automatic for $18.90, brand new. That's like the manufacturer's suggested retail price. So I think Christopher Ward is one that you might want to keep an eye on. I'm hoping that a lot of these brands, starting with their in-house movement, I'm hoping they start entering them in the Grand Prix. Okay, now the next two on the bottom are Junghans. The one in the middle with the white dial, I looked at it and said, that looks just like a wall clock. But I really like it. I don't care if it looks like a wall clock. It looks like a kind of thing like you have a basic Nomos, and it's like for office work and stuff. There's a guy who's serious about his work. It's got the date. It's got a couple sub dials. I think it's a cool looking watch myself. Again, it does have an ETA movement. John House, I think until about 10 years ago, were owned by some company. It was either in Hong Kong or Japan. They had certain Seiko-based movements, but now they're doing ETA movements. I hope that they can move on. Now they had one that came out, a new one this year, 2016, very thin, and it had the Pawsey 7001 in it, which I've got in my El Lara. Same movement. It's now owned by ETA, and ETA didn't do anything to it other than rename it ETA 7001. But it's a pretty decent movement. It's not a great movement. It's certainly not in-house in either one of these watches. But they have the possibility of doing some interesting stuff. The Auris is another basic level entry watch, pretty much on the same level as the Christopher Ward. I don't know if they're doing anything especially interesting or if they're trying to work up an in-house movement, but we'll see. Um, okay, now let's go to the second tier. And the second tier has a higher rank. These are tend to be what are called, 3 stars or what they call the luxury level in the watch rankings. The first one is a Breitling, but this particular Breitling, the Super Ocean, has an ETA movement in it, and I don't know, I've been not happy with Breitling because I used to be a pilot, and we'd go by the pilot shop after we go flying, and there were these beautiful Breitlings and these Tag Heuers, and gee, I wish I had a watch like that, but at the time I was spending all my money on avionics, so it was that I did get one, but I thought they would have their own special movements, but they don't. Okay, now on the bottom, actually, this particular Tudor was ranked as basic luxury, but it's not. I mean, when you win a GPHG grand prize, I don't care what it is, you're up a rank. Okay, so this is one watch that I have always liked. I still like it, and I saw it. I thought, wow, this is a fantastic watch to have. I think every collector ought to have at least just one watch that is a grand prize winner. It doesn't matter what it is. My Harboring 2, for example, won the Petite Aiguille, and of the Grand Prix d'Horologie. And I thought that was cool. I really like it. But this watch, now they come in 2016. They came out with their own in-house movement for the same model, and I think there's about a $600 difference. So you get the one with the ETA in it that won the grand prize, or you get the one that sort of won the new movement because it won the grand prize for $600 more. I like them both. I really do. I don't think you could go wrong with either one. I would probably jump for the one with the in-house movement, but that's me. It's still a very cool watch. The other luxury watch on the bottom is the Omega Planet Ocean. One of my favorite watches. It's got that coaxial movement in it with a 15,000 Gauss. That thing is that's an awesome watch. I love that watch. The final one is unranked. It was a family gift, from Rusty's dad. It's called a Rotary. It's made out of 9 karat gold, and it's pretty. It looks vintage, and it is, and it's got a lot of marks on it and so forth. It is a kind of watch, though, that is wonderful in any collection. I think something like a Rotary. I don't think they make them anymore. But it's a very cool one to have. I love to see that, and the collectors the kind of thing that collectors can find and enjoy. Okay, so this is the collection that I think James Bond should have had, and it's a very interesting one. Excuse me. I really wasn't sure where to go next. I think that any collector with a collection like this, you can see it's already going up. I do think that a nice, maybe even level 4 dress watch would really go well with this. Right now I'm on a big Ulysse Nardin kick because those you can find at lower prices, but you're moving to higher horology that way. I was thinking initially of something like a Rolex Milgauss, but I don't think so, or a Cellini. A Cellini maybe, sort of a light-faced Cellini to go with this, or maybe something, maybe even a rectangular dress watch. But I think you need to think in that direction, and you need to keep going in the direction you're going, which is continuously better, horologically speaking, watches. Okay, this has been Bill Sanders with WatchArtSci. Let's hear your comments. What do you have to say about this? And if you're James Bond, you can tell me I'm wrong. That's okay too. And of course, this is always, it's a very formal invitation that if you'd like to subscribe, you're more than welcome. Okay, see you next Friday. Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci.